I was one of those kids who was always rearranging my bedroom furniture and creating extensive forts in the woods where I grew up in rural New Hampshire. And after years of thinking design would only be a hobby, I started looking at it as a possible career. Of all the things that I learned when I finally went to architecture school, perhaps the most enduring lesson is this: design is everywhere. Design isn't just the realm of architects, it's in everything we do. Whether we like it or not, almost every decision we make is a design decision in some way. Hate fashion, and so decide to wear the most basic clothes possible? That is a design choice. Don't care about fonts so much you will use Comic Sans? Yep. Still a design choice. Not caring about something doesn't make it go away, and even unintentionality is a decision we make. So why does this matter? Because every design decision we make, the good, the bad, the ugly, the unintentional, they all make people feel a certain way. The best example I've seen of this phenomenon is in the sounds and lighting of hospitals. Many of you are very familiar with those sounds and those lightings. Imagine being sick in a hospital bed, and then imagine being assaulted by high-pitched beeps every few minutes. Imagine the lighting overhead is harsh and fluorescent. Did someone along the way say, let's make bad sound and bad lighting part of the patient experience? Well, hopefully not. Probably not. But now your hospital stay and potentially even the end of your life is deeply impacted by these choices. A few years ago here at Endwell, I heard a talk by sound designer Yoko Sen. She spoke of redesigning the sounds of hospitals. She spoke of making them harmonious. So now imagine lying in a hospital bed and hearing gentle, melodious tones. Imagine the light is soft. There is so much potential to redesign our end-of-life spaces. My name is Katrina Spade, and I am a designer. I'm also the founder and CEO of Recompose, the company responsible for a new form of death care called human composting. Woo! Yeah! Recompose sees our work offering human composting as part of a broad movement to redesign the end-of-life experience. And at the heart of this movement is the undying belief that design matters deeply. So about 10 years ago, I became obsessed with the idea of composting human beings. It happens, you know. I was in grad school for architecture and contemplating my own mortality, like everyone in this room is doing today. And I noticed that all of the design decisions that had gone into the conventional funeral industry over time had managed to create something both uninspiring and polluting. I dove into the design challenge to create an alternative to cremation and burial. Those two conventional practices account for a staggering amount of pollution and waste. I started by studying the practice of natural burial, and I deemed it to be a practically perfect solution. Natural burial is practiced all over the world. It has been for millennia. It's where a body is placed directly in the ground with either a shroud or a pine box and allowed to return to nature. In the US, natural burial is having a slow but profound resurgence after centuries of embalming fluid, metal caskets, and concrete grave liners. But here's the thing. Natural burial requires plenty of land. And so I see it really as a perfect solution for our rural locations. The edges of my design challenge sharpened. What would be the option for our dead in cities that would connect us to nature and benefit, not harm the planet? It was right around then that my friend Kate called me on the phone to tell me about a practice called livestock mortality composting. And boom, that was it. My design inspiration had landed, and I was off. Composting is an awesome process. I hope many of you out there are aware already, and if you aren't yet, someday join the cult of composting. As some say, composting is one of the earliest forms of biomimicry. Biomimicry is using nature as inspiration for our design. Composting mimics the process shown here on the forest floor as dead organic material, sticks, leaves, your errant chipmunk, are decomposing naturally. I know, that deceased chipmunk. Sometimes in practicing, I would say deceased chipmunk, but I was like, do you say deceased about a chipmunk? I don't know, but I am talking about a dead chipmunk here. So all that dead organic material is decomposing to form the basis of all of life on Earth, which is soil. There is a key difference, though, between composting and what you see here. Composting is managed by humans. It's a system. It is tended to. So we humans create the perfect environment for nature to do its job, and then naturally occurring microbes and naturally occurring bacteria do all the rest. It's pretty magical. You're looking at an array of Recompose composting vessels in a space that we call the greenhouse. Inside of each, a body is transforming from human to soil. My team and I spent years designing these vessels, and we considered every aspect. Their purpose is to join biology and ritual, function and meaning. I sometimes call them a spa for the dead. Here's how human composting works. We lay a carefully calibrated mixture of wood chips, alfalfa, and straw into the vessel. You can think of those plant materials as the equivalent to the sticks and leaves on the forest floor. We lay a person's body on top of that mixture and cover it with more of the same. The body's like really cocooned inside of the vessel and inside of that plant material. We have a basic fan system that pulls air through each vessel. Air is critical to the process. This is an aerobic process, and oxygen is required. We have 2 temperature probes that are telling our team how warm the material is getting inside of the vessel. That's all due to the microbial activity happening inside. And then about once a week, we rotate each vessel slowly, ensuring, like any good composting process, that everything is mixed well and that air and microbes reach everywhere. Time. Time is a really interesting concept when it comes to natural processes. When you're taking a hike and you find that fallen log in the woods, you probably know it will decompose, but you'd be really hard-pressed to say it will decompose on this exact date. Human composting is similar. At Recompose, we know it takes between 30 and 40 days for a body to transform into soil. We know it takes another few weeks for that soil to cure. But we try to embrace the fact that nature isn't precise. It doesn't have a deadline, definitely doesn't wear a watch. At Recompose, we work with our clients to help them understand this very special aspect of time. We want them to know that composting their loved one is very different than, say, cremation, which takes just a matter of hours to complete. One of my favorite stories from Recompose is about a person named Wayne. He was a Seattle resident and an avid gardener. When Wayne died, his body was brought to Recompose, and several months later, his sister came to pick up his soil. Because we're using so much plant material to compost each body, we're creating a cubic yard of soil per person. That's enough to fill the bed of a pickup truck. In Marie's case, she brought a trailer to our facility. She met our staff. These were the people who had tended to her brother's transformation. Together they filled up the trailer, and she drove to the neighborhood where Wayne had lived for much of his life. Wayne's friends and neighbors came with 5-gallon buckets, and they all took some of Wayne's soil home to their gardens. I like to think of them all gardening together, friends and neighbors, with Wayne still. To me, the process of transforming our dead into nutrient-rich compost is reverent at its core. What could be more respectful to the people we love than to leave them the gift of new life after we've died? What could be more respectful to the people we love than to send their bodies off to become soil, to nourish nature in the city, and to rejoin the natural ecosystem? At Recompose, we believe that this new form of death care is creating opportunity for new forms of ritual to emerge as well. This is an image of a gathering space and a ceremony we call the laying in. The event joins together the ritual and the practical, and often religious and cultural traditions are woven throughout. During a laying in, the person's body is wrapped in a linen shroud and placed on the cradle. Friends and family place wood chips, alfalfa, and straw on and around the body. Sometimes they place flowers, sometimes moss from a favorite hiking spot, and in one case, purple onions and red bell peppers from their person's garden. I love that one. At the end of the laying in, the body is placed into the threshold vessel. The threshold vessel is a doorway from the gathering space to the greenhouse where the act of composting occurs. Passing your person's body through the threshold vessel, it marks their transition from live family member to ancestor, and it begins their physical transformation from human to soil. It's been incredible for my team and me to see the family and friends of our clients create new ritual to honor their dead, and it has underscored the fact that design is everywhere. Every single action, laying moss, singing a hymn, placing your hands on that person's body one last time, these moments matter deeply. When our team designed the threshold vessel, we knew that every single design aspect could matter as well. Obsessing over its design became like a gift we could give to the people who would someday experience it. There is a poem cut into the top of the threshold vessel. You can just see it there. I like to think of it as a poem for the dead to read on their way through. It was written by a staff member at Recompose, and it says, "Let us not live in fear of decomposing, but in awe and gratitude of our future recomposing." Thank you so much. Thank you.